I'm Sonia Morton-Firth, and today I'm talking to Kelly Tyler of Under One Sky, the homeless charity organisation. We are told to stay at home, but the homeless can't stay at home. Kelly talks about the reality of the current situation. London in particular is seeing a surge of newly homeless people. Watch this interview as Kelly gives a real account of the streets of London.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. It's so good to have you here. And what beautiful surroundings. I mean, look at that. I love it. I love
This
it.
is my interview corner.
Well, Kelly, and I know you've been doing a lot of interviews at the moment, but tell me a little bit more about Under One Sky and what you're doing. And more importantly, the emergency project that you're running currently in COVID-19.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you. I mean, your show's awesome. And the fact that you're doing this COVID special for the key workers is just beautiful, because I think all these people aren't getting a lot of the limelight and they're doing all the hard work while everyone else is sitting in their little isolation hubs and not really seeing the bigger picture. So thank you, first of all, for that. So I know Under One Sky is a charity that supports the homeless, predominantly in the UK, but we have since 2018 branched out to Madrid and other places. And it was set up in 2012 by our founder, Mikel. And, you know, there are so many charities out there that support homeless people, shelters and giving food, etc. But when he went out, it was actually like, well, who's talking to the people on the streets? Who's having those conversations and just listening? And also potentially even providing entertainment as such, or culture, and making them feel seen.
Yes.
And that was his real vision back in 2012. And actually just by building, I mean, he even took one of the homeless people home with him for 6 months.
Wow.
So this is the level of care. But in the respects, what we were seeing is once you build those relationships up, then it was like, oh, I really need some food or a pair of size 7 shoes. And so it started to just very smallly grow into actually providing toiletries and food and sanitation for those people on the streets. But we've never lost the essence of the fact that we want to show them compassion, the fact that we want to represent their stories. And, you know, we go out and do surveys with them about the universal credit system, and is that really working for them? And then we feed that back to the government and to PR to go, actually it's not. But so we want to be their voice. And then when I came on board a couple of years back as a board member, and we sort of decided to grow the company to a much wider scale.
Yeah.
Mikel's so connected, right? He works with like Universal Studio and all the film industries and stuff like that. So he knows a lot of people, and we raise a lot of funds, normally about 30k every time we do what we call a skywalk.
What I was going to say, what's the skywalk?
So what we do is very regularly, we have a team of a couple of hundred volunteers that go out through the whole of London in sort of pods of 8, and we go out and we take supplies with us, but we talk to the people on the street. We give them £50 Argos vouchers. We basically find out if they have got any facilities, of knowing where the local hostels are. We give them all the lists. We see if we can refer them to StreetLink if they're in dire need and need accommodation because they're going through cancer treatment or whatever it might be. So we have those that happen regularly, and we normally raise about 30 grand every time one of those projects happens, because we get a lot of donations, but we buy a lot of the clothes brand new. So the hats, scarves, gloves, all those things are brand new. And obviously the Argos vouchers are the things that the homeless love the most, because they can go and buy.
Really?
Yeah. They can buy a mobile phone, they can buy a tent, they can buy a sleeping bag, they can buy the things that, you know, just some food on the street doesn't actually keep them warm.
Yeah.
So when I came on board,
you forget, because I think it is, because you'd think, well, food, they'd want food or drink or something that would nourish them. But yeah, of course, they need to keep warm, keep them warm.
And it's heartbreaking, some of the stories, because we hear some of the homeless have gone off to have a shower, and when they've come back, the council have cleared their tent up and thrown it in the dustbin with all of their belongings in there. And we're like, come on, guys, right? That's all that person has.
Absolutely.
So, and it's a very common story that we hear, that if their stuff's left unattended for a certain amount of time, it's time for street clearing or whatever, then it goes. Anyway, yeah, let's not go down because I'll get emotional. But so we then decided that there's lots of charities doing things like CEO sleep outs. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have.
And we love that because it's a great thing. It raises loads of money. But we've actually done CEO walkouts with companies like Handle and stuff, where the company raises the funds as a team expedition, and then we take the whole company out in pods rather than our volunteers. And they get to see the people on the streets, they get to speak. And this is the bit that we're really about, is the liaison, the compassion, the building relationships up with those homeless people and understanding why they're there. And then they decide then, oh, can we be a volunteer full time? So that was one of the things. And then another thing that we're doing is something called VIHP, which is a music event for the homeless. So there are a lot, Ellie Goulding does these, but it's normally where the public can attend and raise money for the homeless.
Yeah.
So only homeless people can attend our gig with superstar performers. We'll live stream it to the public so they can see it, but we want to entertain the people on the streets.
And where do you normally put these performances on?
We were just about to do one at the Passage in Victoria when COVID hit.
Oh.
So yeah, we're in talks. We just have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, it will all be on our site when we do get it sorted. But it's a new initiative for this year, so we haven't done our first one yet.
Let's hope it still goes ahead. But what did happen when COVID hit? Because you're running this charity, and we hear that the government has done so much, and that all the homeless are now safely inside hotels. What is the actual reality of the situation?
So we, because we have an understanding with some of the people on the streets and we have their numbers and stuff, we were being contacted, we were seeing them, and they were saying, look, I haven't been contacted to be put into a hotel or a hostel yet. When's someone going to call me, etc. So we started just connecting with a few people and realizing actually a lot of the people that we know that we have relationships with are still there. They're waiting for someone to come and pick them up. So we just said, okay, volunteers, come together. What we saw, because the shops are closed and the ones that were open were only accepting card, there was no footfall going past. So there was nobody to talk to, but there was also no donations being given. Everything had closed. Swimming pools, public toilets, they couldn't shower, they couldn't wash. We were having ladies that are saying, look, it's the time of the month and I need to wash myself, right? I have nowhere to do this. And so they normally, where they would charge their mobile phones, those places were closed. So they actually lost their communication because the battery was dead and because they haven't got any money for credit. So their whole world was cut off. And we saw people who were completely emaciated in a few days because they hadn't eaten. So we were like, okay, we're not waiting. Let's get a team of volunteers together. Let's go out every night. We split the areas up, Tottenham Court Road, Victoria, London Bridge. We just had patches and we were just literally providing food. And we thought, okay, we'll do this. It'll be a week or two, right? Until they all get housed.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know what we're at now, maybe about 6,000-7,000 meals that we've provided with since COVID hit. And, the councils have done a great job. They put a lot of people in a lot of hotels in 48 hours. They did what they can. But we know that probably about 70% of the people on the streets aren't fit to go into those accommodations.
When you say they're not fit, what do you mean?
They have severe mental health issues, and some of them are substance misuse users, right? So when you put them into a hotel accommodation without any sort of support, psychological support, etc., it just doesn't work, right? And they'll go back onto the streets to use or to find. And we found that some of the people had accommodation, but they had no food. The hotels weren't providing them with food, so they were coming back out. So we realised, and then probably about 2 weeks ago, we started to see our numbers increase. And we were like, hang on a minute, what's going on?
So we increase.
Yeah, the amount of people on the streets that we saw, we were like, so we saw a lot of the people that were in hotels getting kicked out.
Okay.
We saw early release prisoners on the street going, I've been released early, well, what's going on? And we've seen completely new people to homelessness who are so scared because they've never been homeless before. They're sleeping on the night buses, and they're purely there because they lost their job, they couldn't pay their rent. And we know that tenants aren't supposed to kick people out, but no one's really managing that at the moment.
Losing their job because of this situation, because of
yeah, like like I remember this guy. He had one of the tourist stalls on Oxford Street, and because there's no trade, his whole world. And I think you know this because you're in the personal development world. Most people have about 3 months worth of savings to live off if they had no income coming in at best.
Yes.
Right. So these people just didn't have the reserves.
And if you don't have a roof over your head, if you don't have a home, then
so we were like, okay,
so a job to even sustain you. It's like,
yeah. So there's those things, plus also, and this one was one that breaks my heart the most because I'm a massive animal lover and I always get drawn to the homeless people with dogs. But the places that were provided for homeless people, that were not allowed to bring their dogs. So their dog is their life. They would die for their dog.
Child, right? It's like you would leave your child on the street.
And they're saying, no, you have to give your dog away to go and live in accommodation. And they're like, no, I'll be on the streets. It's all right, thanks. I don't want to leave my dog. So there's another scenario there of what people aren't considering. And so I think what we really want is potentially another couple of hotels to come on board to take the 30% of people who are new to homelessness, that don't have any issues, that just need to be supported because they found themselves in a situation because of actual COVID's made them homeless. And then potentially with the other 70%, that could also be solved with hotels, but the hotels need to have the psychological support.
No, absolutely.
So we need more volunteers to do trauma, drug counselling, actually be key workers, that because the beautiful people that are key workers are living in those hotels with those people now that are actually housed. They have to be there all the time. And so we need more people like that who are willing to put themselves at risk.
Yes, completely, because they've got to isolate with them. Yeah, they can't come.
Isolate with them, right? So at risk of COVID, at risk of abuse, at risk, so it's a tough order for them. But I think that's the missing link, that why we're not seeing them completely off the streets, because it's not a joined up approach of, yes, here's a house over your head, but people aren't looking at the psychological issues that doesn't solve the problem to enable them to stay there, or whether that's even the right thing for them.
And presumably there's a lot of people that are falling through the net. It sounds like it's not that easy to get a hotel. Are the hotels full now? I mean, you mentioned if you had another 2 hotels that came on board, would that help?
Yeah, so I think on average we're probably seeing about 300-400 people a night, but 30% of them would be suitable just to go straight into some form of hotel accommodation. We know that we're submitting, there's a really good company called StreetLink who anyone can, if you see it, when we're in COVID and outside of COVID, you can just register for the free app. And if you see a homeless person that wants to be housed, you can register them and give their name and their details and their location, and StreetLink will go out and outreach workers will go and speak to them and see if they can help them. So it's a great service. Fantastic. When we started a month ago, we got a contact from StreetLink going, who is Under One Sky? Who are you? Because you're submitting like 30 to 40 applications a night, and that's probably what we see in a week. What are you doing? And then they actually said to us, we can't accommodate anymore. We've got 14 people working here, and we haven't got the places to put these people in.
And all your people are volunteers.
Yeah.
I mean, how many volunteers have you got at the moment that are doing?
So we had, before COVID started, we probably had about 170. And then we've got the team of the board as well, and everyone is completely voluntary. And then we had Amelia Gentleman, brilliant Guardian journalist, come out with us last week. And she did an article on us, which we were very thankful for, because the Sunday Times did an article the week before saying that there are no homeless on the streets of London. We cleaned them up over a weekend.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, I live in Richmond, and I can tell you, I can go down to Waitrose or Tesco's or anything anywhere on the high street, and there are still homeless people there.
Yeah.
Right.
So we were a bit around.
And that's Richmond, it's not Brixton, you know, it's not somewhere there.
It's central London, right?
Yeah.
And so, and there's some things on our website where we take pictures with permission with the homeless people every night, and we do a daily account of how many we've fed and some stories. And even in Trafalgar Square, you can see a line of 50 people lining up just for the food that we're doing, right? Obviously with social distancing, and then we do all the PPE, we're all very, very proper.
I mean, how is that working, the social distancing with giving out food as well?
Yeah, so we have it, all of our volunteers have training, they're PPE'd up, and then when we have the areas where we see homeless people, we will lay the food out on the floor in bags with all the, you know, whatever they've asked for, and then they approach to the food and pick it up. So everything is always in distance, and you can see some of that from our website and see the practices that we do. But it's really important, right? When we go and fill up the flasks, I'd love to do a big shout out for all of the London Underground and the fire station people, because we have flasks of water that we do tea and coffee and we walk around with, and soup, and obviously they need refilling, and those guys have been our places to refill as we go around. We've built relationships up over the last month with some of the station managers, so big shout out to those guys. So yeah, so it's been, now since Amelia came out and did the article in the Guardian, we had an additional maybe 400 volunteers appear in 24 hours.
Wow, that's great. That's, you know, it's
right. And we raised an additional, I think we're at 80, we're at about £110,000 that we've raised now, but about 80,000 of that came from direct awareness of the Guardian article. And then last night we had Channel 4 out with us, BBC4 radio, German radio station, television station. So it's great, right? Because what our passion is telling the real story on the streets.
Yeah, completely.
Making people aware, because so many people say, oh, I didn't think there were anybody else on the streets. And how would you know? Because we're in our houses, right? We don't see what's outside our houses.
We're all told to, well, that's it. We're told to stay at home, but where do the homeless stay?
But the homeless can't stay at home.
Exactly. And you're right. You know, we are being told, oh, you know, one good thing has come from this, it's cleaned up our streets, and the homeless are nicely tucked away in hotels, but it's not the reality of the situation.
No, but the good thing that has come in, and you know, this is something, is showing how compassionate people are, right? Our volunteers are putting themselves at risk every night going out. You know, we're safe, but they're still at risk. And there are so many people that have come together to offer support in one way or another. And also, the government has done a good job. It shows what's possible when there is a crisis, right? We housed a load of homeless people in a weekend. So there is hope. And I think it is really showing that people can make a massive difference when you've got a great intention, passion, compassion, and people work together collectively. It's been lovely to see that.
What are the major challenges that you see going forward? I mean, we're in, I've sort of lost track. We're in week 2 of the 3-week extended lockdown, and who knows what's going to happen after that. What challenges do you sort of foresee in the next couple of weeks?
With the homeless specifically?
Yes, with your situation.
I think there are a few things. What we are seeing is that, and unfortunately this is that one of the hardest things, is that people are losing hope on the street, because they've been told that StreetLink will come out to you in the next 48 hours, and it's been 2 weeks now, and we see them every night, and they're like, I haven't been contacted yet. Do you know when they're coming? And so the level of hope is diminishing. People who maybe weren't using have turned back to using again.
God.
The drug pushers are taking advantage of this, and there are some drugs that are much cheaper now than what they would have been, just to get people back into the habit. So it's a little bit more hostile, I'd probably say, on the streets than it was a month ago. We're seeing a lot more irritation, frustration, a lot more use of drugs, and I can't see that improving until they feel that they're valued, they're seen, that they're cared for. The thing that, you know, the dignity of not having personal hygiene.
Tell me, is there a story or anything that you can talk about?
Is there a story?
Yeah, or anything that you can sort of bring to light on that?
We've got people, I don't know, there's one of the guys who's got a really bad skin condition, and he needs to shower every day in order for it to be maintained. He hadn't showered for 2 weeks. He said he's riddled, it itches, he's embarrassed, he doesn't like it, and obviously it's making him even worse. The female situation with ladies who need to wash their knickers because it's the time of the month for them and they've got nowhere to do that. So we are giving out sanitary packs to people now because we weren't even aware of this. We've had people, like there's a lady out there who's got spinal cancer.
Spinal cancer.
Yeah. She goes for treatment for her chemo. She comes back, she lives on the streets. She lost her benefits because she was having chemo. It's just crazy, right? So the fact of people feeling that they haven't got anywhere to wash, and I think that's going to have an effect, isn't it, for the COVID from a virus point of view? I don't know, but sanitation-wise, surely if we're saying wash our hands every
5 seconds, you go out and wash your hands as soon as you come back in. I've never washed mine so much.
But they're not even able to have a shower, right? So those are the things, the hope, the drug increase and the personal hygiene. I think if something isn't done on a larger scale and we stay in COVID lockdown for much longer, they're the things that are going to increase.
Kelly, what do you need? What do you need right now?
Well, we've actually turned off our tap yesterday for our volunteers because we have more volunteers than we do the people on the streets that we're seeing, which is great.
Great, I guess, yeah.
We're always welcome for donations because that's what obviously is funding this whole project. We don't take any money, but obviously we are providing food. £1 a night, £1 will feed a homeless person for a night. So we will always be putting that back in. We want to increase our services. We are talking about potentially getting portaloos on the streets for people to wash and have showers. So all these things, we are just in reactive mode at the moment because this is stuff outside of our vision and our normal what we do on a daily basis. We love the exposure from the PR because of telling the stories from the streets, but also telling the real story. And I think that way we can join the dots up. We've even had a couple of people overnight, and I can't say who they are because I don't remember their name, but they are a couple of hotels that are saying we could potentially help here. So
really, so hotels, donations.
And people that can help with the mental health side of things, because I think that is not just having a hotel as the solution, it is these people then being able to offer these people support to enable them to live in hotels if they get that chance.
Kelly, are there any lessons that you think can be learned when we're looking back in, say, 3 months, 6 months, a year time? What lessons do you think we've learned from this, or we would have learned from this?
We're very resourceful as a species, the human beings, when we react to crisis, and I think that's a great problem-solving skill that we have. I think one of the lessons that I hope people will take away from that is that if we are more conscious in our daily actions and we're more attentive in our purpose-driven lives, we wouldn't need to get to a crisis where we are working collaboratively, we are caring about our neighbour, we are not just walking past that person on the street, we're having a conversation. It's not about always giving money to somebody, it's about being seen, whatever scenario you're in, right? And I think that's something that we're seeing now, is that we're valuing our time, the people around us, we're being a lot more grateful. And I hope we don't lose that going forward, because I think that's the real gel that holds our race together.
I think that's lovely, being seen. I think you've coined that expression. It's when you pass a homeless person, don't just pass, and it's not about money, just say hello or just give them some sort of acknowledgement. I think that's really important.
I want to chat, right? They're just like, most people are 3 months away from being in their situation.
Kelly, we're going to put the donation links down in the show notes. Thank you so much for all the hard work you and Under One Sky are doing. Honestly, you're an amazing lady. I know you're doing amazing things and lots of other things that you're doing as well. But I just want to say thank you so much. Namaste and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.